Africa. You've seen a picture of the destruction tonight as firefighters try and battle some of those blazes that have been set alight. Now, while the ongoing riots are set to emanate from the pro-Zuma protests, this is those that are protesting the incarceration of the former president. There are big questions about what else is contributing to the state of these protests. Dr. Situlero Matibesi is standing by. He's a sociology lecturer. Dr. Matibesi, good evening. Apologies, I'm getting tongue-tied there. Let's get straight into it, perhaps, just to begin with the many complex issues that seem to have gathered at this meeting point. They've intersected at this point to cause the explosion that we are seeing today. You, as sociologists, do the work of understanding what these elements might be. Share some of the thoughts that you've been reflecting on over the last couple of days or even weeks.
Hi, good evening, Cathy, and good evening to the viewers. As you have correctly stated, I'm going to give some sociological perspectives on what we are currently seeing happening in South Africa. And I must also add, it's very sad. And we all know sociology is the study of social institutions. We look at the interactions of different people in different contexts. But if you look at what is currently happening in South Africa, people have already alluded, many commentators, about the role of inequality, poverty, and you mentioned them. All these major ills and challenges that we face in our country. But at another level, one should also look at the whole notion of structural factors that also contributes to protest and even violent protest or criminality. And one issue that I can mention in that regard, or perhaps I should come back to that, but it's also the issue of socialization and education. How has we been socialized? There are individuals, and in other contexts, in other countries, irrespective of the poverty that have been exposed to, irrespective of their social situation, will never embark on this kind of action. And that has a lot to do with their exposure, the nature of the environment. Because if the environment is conducive for these kind of acts, then people will definitely get engaged in these kind of activities. And if you look since these activities have started, quite surprisingly, even those that have been arrested, I don't think many people even align themselves with the incarceration of the former President Jacob Zuma. Some of them very opportunistic have joined that. But I don't think, somebody who knows the consequences of such criminal activities would have got involved. Yes, but the chance of getting away with murder in South Africa is quite high. Now, let alone about stealing and looting. And it is all these structural, systemic factors that contributes to this kind of violent actions. But one major question that we also need to talk about, it is the whole notion of dysfunctional families. Immediately, if tires are burning where I am staying, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to ask, where is my kids? What are they doing? And try to reprimand them to get inside. But we've got a huge problem where our kids today, and some of these are adults also, do not understand the consequences of their actions. And that's why we will always see this vicious cycle of violence, because there's always an element that it is possible to get away with that. If you look at the situation in South Africa, the police not being able to deal with violence, in this particular instance, but also some people wanting to become instant. There's a whole notion of symbolic interactionism. It started in Durban. I strongly believe that if there was immediate intervention from our security cluster, then the potential for this to have spilled over to Johannesburg would have been very limited. But because people saw what happened in the media, that it is possible, and people got away with that. So that, in a nutshell, also plays a huge impact, the possibility of...
All right. Dr. Matibesi, we seem to have lost some of the sound to you tonight, so we're going to have to leave it there with the interview. Okay, I understand that you're actually back up on the line. Before I let you go, effectively what you are saying is that as a country, we have created the kind of environment that enables the looting, that enables the criminality. But what is far more concerning, if I'm hearing you clearly, is the erosion when it comes to our security cluster to be able to uphold the law, even on very basic matters, that let citizens know that actually, if I can get away with this, I can then surely get away with something else.
Yeah, most definitely. Our social fabric has disintegrated. You're talking about the security, our security system, the police and our intelligence service. It's quite shocking. I mean, and I've heard, and I've also looked at the media, press today that was hosted by the Minister and the Minister of Security, Intelligence. But the question is, why was there no action? Why did they not act on the intelligence that had been gathered? I mean, even before the weekend where the president still addressed and they gathered in Nkandla, there was already indications that violence will definitely spill over. But we're sitting with a huge problem. And the question is, how can you allow the situation to deteriorate to such an extent? And this, for me, is indicative of the disintegration of our security systems in this country. And people have realized that, and that's why they're taking advantage of that. And I'm telling you, Cathy, and the viewers, we're going to take a very long time to be able to deal with the consequences of what has been happening over the past couple of days in South Africa.
Dr. Sithulego Matibesi, let me thank you so much for your time. Tonight he is a senior lecturer in the Department of Sociology at the University of the Free State.